Dweller's birthdays. Bossman, happy birthday. Welcome in. Tonight is a special night. Tonight is reserved just for subscribers, for Grims. You are the only ones that can chat. I wanted to do something special for you. So, once my team and I began talking, we was like, well, what can we do that would make this a super special subscription night only? Why don't I tell you a story? A story that I have written called Cherry Hill. Oh, what is it about, Bren? Oh, you just wait. It will only be told on Sunday nights as part of a subscription. Cherry Hill sounds so lovely, doesn't it? Let's just say I've been working on it all day long. I was very disturbed, going to those dark places in my mind. But first, let's get into story time, shall we? Lower your lights. Lock your doors. Light a candle to chase those shadows away. Pull your curtains nice and tight. Wrap yourself in your warmest blanket to avoid the chills that are about to crawl up your spine. And let's begin. Cherry Hill. Cherry Hill awaits. A place of whispered legends, ancient secrets, and a woman named Maggie Drake, who dares to uncover what the highlands of North Carolina have hidden for centuries. Some stories were never meant to be told, but in Cherry Hill, every secret demands to be revealed, and it will be beginning tonight on Twisted Tales Live. I am your host, Bryn Morgan. I'm a horror author. I'm also a teller of scary stories, every kind of scary story you can imagine. Do you like scary stories? Oh, you do. Wonderful. Let's start with Cherry Hill. Chapter 1. The November sky hung like charcoal above Charlotte, North Carolina, heavy with the promise of rain that hadn't quite decided to fall. Maggie Drake pulled her wool coat tighter as she stepped out of the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library, the automatic doors whooshing shut behind her with a finality that seemed to echo through the empty parking lot. The air bit at her cheeks, carried the earthy scent of wet leaves and the faint exhaust from evening traffic on Babies Ford Road. Her long red hair, usually cascading in controlled waves past her shoulders, had begun to fizz in the dampness. She hated when it frizzed up. She tucked a stubborn strand behind her ear as she walked, her green eyes scanning the nearly deserted lot for her brand new silver Honda Accord. The heels of her black leather boots clicked against the asphalt in a rhythmic pattern that somehow felt too loud in the silence. The book signing had gone well. Better than well, actually. 43 copies of Shadow in the Garden sold just like that, and at least a dozen requests for when her third book would be out. That familiar knot tightened in her stomach at the memory. When's the next one coming? What's it about, Miss Drake? I can't wait to read what's going to happen next. Their eager faces had blurred together by the end, all expectant smiles and hungry eyes, waiting for her to feed them another story, which in all honesty, she didn't yet have. She didn't understand it. The first book had rolled perfectly. The second one, the same. But the third one was just not coming forward. God, she was tired. The kind of bone-deep exhaustion that came from smiling for 3 hours straight while her mind churned with the growing panic about her looming deadline. Her publisher wanted a draft by March. The whole book. It might as well have been tomorrow for all the progress that she'd made. A gust of wind swept across the parking lot, carrying with it the sweet, sharp scent of someone's fireplace and the distant sound of traffic. Maggie fumbled in her purse for her keys. Thank you so much for coming, Miss Drake. It was a pleasure to have you here. I love all your books. I can't wait for your third one. Of course you can't, she muttered. She raised her hand. Oh, don't worry about it. It'll be out soon. It's going to be a real page turner. If I know anything about you, Miss Drake, all your books are. Her fingers brushing against the smooth cover of her business cards, the receipt from dinner, and finally there, the familiar weight of her keychain, with Curly's photo dangling from it, her 7-year-old daughter, looking cute. Even in the dim streetlight, she could make out her daughter's infectious grin, those red curls so much like her own, bouncing around that precious 7-year-old face. The thought of Curly made her smile for the first time all evening. It always did. By now, Jared would have gotten her ready for bed, made her take a bath, probably had a battle over brushing her teeth, and just one more chapter of Charlotte's Web. Curly had inherited Maggie's love of books, along with her hair color, though thankfully she'd gotten Jared's confidence when it came to tackling new challenges. As Maggie reached her car, she paused with her hand on the door handle and had a insanely need for a cherry limeade. The craving hit her so suddenly, intensely. There was a Sonic drive-through just a few miles from there, and the sweet tart combination would be exactly what she needed to shake off this fog of exhaustion. The sugar and caffeine might even spark something. Who knows? An idea? She had the character in mind. She just needed anything to get her fingers moving across the keyboard again. That's all she needed. And she would be on her way, even if it was just one sentence. The car's interior still held the faint vanilla scent of the air freshener Curly had insisted on choosing last month. Maggie settled into the driver's seat, grateful to be off her feet, and started the engine. The radio came to life with some soft rock ballad she didn't recognize, and she let it play as she pulled out of the parking lot. The night felt unusually quiet for a Thursday. Even the streetlights seemed dimmer somehow, casting long shadows that stretched and shifted as she drove. The temperature had definitely dropped since she'd gone in the library 3 hours ago. She could see her breath forming small puffs when she exhaled, and the steering wheel felt cold, even through her leather gloves. She clicked on the steering wheel warmer. Maybe she would grab that cherry limeade and then stop by the bookstore on her way home. Maybe even pick up Curly another book to read at night. She did love reading to her at night. She would do all the different voices. One night she was a dragon, the next a princess or an evil queen. And sometimes it helped her to even walk in the bookstore. Barnes and Noble was not too far from Sonic. She would walk the aisles sometimes until inspiration struck. Sometimes being surrounded by all those stories helped her remember why she'd started writing in the first place. She wanted to keep the joy of writing. She didn't want it to become something that was a job, something that was going to weigh her down. She started writing because she loved it. She loved it before the deadlines and expectations and the crushing weight of having to top her last success. It was a lot of stress. The radio DJ's voice cut through her thoughts, announcing the time, 9:47 p.m. Well, too late for Barnes and Noble. She'd have to do that tomorrow. Later, then she realized Jared would be wondering where she was, probably checking his phone and getting that slight frown line between his eyebrows that appeared whenever things didn't go exactly according to his mental schedule. But a quick stop at Sonic wouldn't hurt. Just this one small indulgence before she had to go home and face the blank computer screen again. As she turned out of the library parking lot, Maggie caught a glimpse of herself in the rearview mirror. Her bright red lipstick had worn off hours ago, and there were faint shadows under her eyes that her concealer couldn't quite hide anymore. When had she started looking so tired all the time? When had success started feeling like such a burden? The Sonic's neon signs glowed ahead like a beacon in the darkness, promising something sweet to cut through the bitter taste of an evening spent pretending she had all the answers. She didn't. She had no idea that she was being watched. The car ahead of her crept forward. The drive-through line stretched longer than she'd expected. 5 cars ahead of her, their taillights glowing red in the November darkness. Maggie shifted the car into park and let out a long sigh, her breath fogging the windshield slightly. The digital clock on her dashboard read 10:03 p.m. Maybe she should just go home. She could back out if she wanted to. There was no one behind her as of yet. The car crept ahead a little bit further as she followed suit, the engine humming quietly. The cherry limeade drink was calling to her now. Through her partially open window, she could hear the muffled voices from the drive-through speaker, the distant hiss of fryer oil, the rustle of paper bags. Her stomach growled softly. She hadn't eaten since the quick sandwich before the signing. Chick-fil-A. Yum. It had did nothing for her hunger. As always, she'd forgotten to lock her doors on her car. It was a terrible habit, one that Jared constantly nagged her about. You live in the real world, Maggie, not in one of your books. You live in Charlotte. Be careful. Lock your doors. But Charlotte had always felt safe to her, predictable in a way that allowed her mind to wander to the stories she crafted rather than worry about. The back door opened. Cold air rushed into the car like a slap. And before Maggie could turn around, before she could even process what was happening, a body slid across her back seat. The scent hit her immediately. Unwashed skin, stale cigarettes, and something metallic that made her stomach lurch. Don't you dare turn around. The voice was rough, gravelly, like sandpaper against her eardrums. Something sharp and cold pressed against the side of her throat, just below her ear. Don't scream. Don't do anything stupid. And then she felt it. A sharp object. She could feel its edge, thin and deadly, biting just slightly into her skin. Her hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly that her knuckles went white, and she could hear her heartbeat thundering in her ears, drowning out everything else. The sonic sounds, the idling engines, even her own ragged breathing. I want you to listen to me. Back out of the line. Slow. Real slow. His breath was hot and rancid against her ear, carrying the sour smell of cheap beer and tooth decay. You do one thing stupid, lady, and I'll slice your pretty throat wide open. You got me? Maggie's foot found the brake with trembling precision. Her hand shook as she shifted into reverse. Every movement careful and deliberate. The poker pressed deeper and she felt a warm trickle of blood slide down her neck, soaking into the collar of her wool coat. Was this her night to die? Good girl. The words made her skin crawl. Now drive. Out of the parking lot. Turn left. And don't you do anything stupid, lady. The other cars in line seemed oblivious, their occupants staring at phones or talking to passengers. No one noticed as Maggie's Honda slowly backed away from safety, away from witnesses, away from help. The bright sonic signs grew smaller in her rearview mirror, as she turned left onto the main road, following his whispered directions. Keep driving. Don't think about being a hero. I'll kill you without a second thought. Terror flooded her system like ice water. Was this real? This couldn't be happening. She was just at the library. She was going to get her a cherry limeade. Things like this happen to other people, to characters in crime novels, not to best-selling authors picking up cherry limeades on quiet Thursday nights. But the poker at her throat was real, and the stench of sweat and danger filling her car was real. And the way her hands trembled against the steering wheel was absolutely, horrifyingly real. They drove through Charlotte's outskirts of town, past the last of the strip malls and gas stations, toward the rural darkness beyond. Streetlights became sporadic, then disappeared entirely. The only light came from her headlights, cutting through the November night, and the occasional glow from a distant farmhouse. He pressed the blade closer to her throat. Turn right up here. The dirt road. Maggie's Honda bumped and lurched as it left the smooth asphalt for the rutted dirt path. She'd written enough books about dirt roads and read about them. Nothing good was waiting at the end of a dirt road. Gravel pinged against the undercarriage, and bare tree branches scraped against the windows like skeletal fingers. The headlights illuminated nothing but woods on either side, thick, impenetrable darkness that seemed to swallow sound and hope alike. Left at the next road. You see it? Turn. She did. Another dirt road, even narrower than the first, disappearing into what looked like absolute wilderness. Her tires spun slightly in the loose dirt as she made the turn, and she could taste copper in her mouth, blood from where she'd bitten her tongue to keep from screaming. The road curved, then opened suddenly into a large field. Maggie's foot automatically moved to the brake as her headlights swept across an unexpected scene. Pickup trucks parked at odd angles, their beds full of equipment and coolers. Portable spotlights blazed hot and white against the darkness, illuminating clusters of men in camouflage and blazonge. The acrid smell of a campfire drifted through her partially open window, mixed with the early scent of trampled grass and autumn leaves. Deer hunters. The field was full of deer hunters. What the hell? The knife jerked against her throat as her attacker tensed. Back up! Back up right now! Get us out of here! For a split second, Maggie sat frozen. She could feel his panic, smell his fear mixing with the sweat and beer. Several of the hunters had noticed her headlights, were turning their attention toward the unexpected vehicle at the edge of their camp. This was it. Her moment. Her choice. Back up as he commanded and drive deeper into the woods, where no one would ever find her body, or... Maggie slammed her palm down on the horn. The sound cut through the November night like a scream, long and desperate and impossible to ignore. She kept her hand pressed down, the horn blaring continuously as the hunters dropped their conversations and started moving toward the car. You stupid. The blade bit deep into the side of her neck, much deeper this time. She felt the hot rush of blood immediately, more than a trickle now, streaming down her neck and soaking her coat. The pain was sharp and burning. but she kept her hand on the horn. Men were running toward them now, flashlights bobbing, voices shouting. The passenger door flew open and her attacker tumbled out into the darkness, but not before the knife scraped across her neck one final time. She heard his footsteps crashing through the underbrush, growing fainter as he fled into the woods beyond the hunter's lights. Maggie's hand finally fell away from the horn. The sudden silence felt deafening. Blood continued to flow down her neck, and she could taste it now, metallic and warm. Her whole body shook uncontrollably as the hunters surrounded her car, their concerned voices sounding distant and hollow, as if she were hearing them from underwater. She had made her choice, and somehow, impossibly, she was still alive. Chapter 2. The fluorescent lights in the emergency room buzzed overhead like angry insects, casting everything in harsh clinical white that made Maggie's skin look gray. She sat on the edge of the hospital bed, her wool coat draped around her shoulders, watching the nurse clean the wound on her neck with practiced efficiency. She was in shock. Her doctor walked in the room with his clipboard in hand. "You're lucky," Dr. Martinez said as he examined the bandage. His hand smelled of sanitizer and latex. "The cut is superficial. Looks a lot worse because it's of all the blood, but thankfully no major vessels were damaged." Luckily, the word felt hollow in her ears. She nodded anyway, because what else could she do? She was lucky. The hunters had called 911, stayed with her until the ambulance arrived. The big bears of men, their worried faces illuminated by the flashing red and blue lights. She remembered fragments, the paramedic's gentle voice, the smell of antiseptic, the way the stretcher rattled over the uneven ground. But what she remembered most clearly were the words he'd whispered in her ear during that endless drive through the darkness. Words that the hunters hadn't heard. Words that made her skin crawl even now in the safety of the hospital. "When I get you to those woods, pretty lady, I'm gonna have some fun with you. Gonna take my sweet time. You'll be begging me to end it before I'm done." She shivered and pulled her coat tighter, trying her best to push the memory away. But his voice lingered, and it was a voice she didn't think she would ever forget. You never forget the voice of your attacker. Gravelly and cruel, promising things that made bile rise in her throat. "Maggie!" She looked up to see Jared striding through the emergency room doors, his dark hair disheveled, still wearing his pajama pants under his coat. Curly's red curls bounced as she ran behind him, her small face pinched with worry. "Mommy!" Curly launched herself into Maggie's arms, careful to avoid the bandaged side of her neck. "Are you okay? Daddy said a bad man tried to hurt you." Maggie looked at Jared above their daughter's head. "No, honey, I'm fine. I'm fine, sweetheart." The lie came easily, automatically. She buried her face in Curly's hair. inhaling the familiar scent of strawberry shampoo. I'm okay now that you're here. Jared's hands were on her shoulders, his blue eyes scanning her face with the intensity he usually reserved for his business deals. Christ, Maggie, when the police called, he stopped, jaw clenching. What happened? They said you were carjacked. She told him the sanitized version, the one that left out the whispered threats and the certainty that she was going to die in those woods. Just a robbery gone wrong, she said. Just bad luck. It was just one of those random things that happen to other people. 3 hours later, they were home. Jared made tea, while Curly curled up next to Maggie on the living room sofa, her small hand resting protectively on her mother's arm. The house felt different, somehow. Too big, too quiet, full of shadows that hadn't been there before, but they were definitely there now. Curly had drifted off to sleep. Maggie took a sip of her tea. Her fingers were still shaking. Jared sat beside her. I think you should take some time off. He set his steaming mug on the coffee table. Cancel your appointments. Rest. I can't. Sapphire is expecting... Sapphire can wait. They both looked at Curly. His voice carried that edge of authority that usually made her comply. You almost died tonight, Mags. But even as she nodded agreement, Maggie knew she couldn't stop. Stopping meant thinking. And thinking meant hearing that voice again. Feeling the knife against her throat, remembering how close she'd come to disappearing forever. 2 weeks later, she sat in her usual corner of Starbucks. Laptop open, cursor blinking mockingly on a blank page. The familiar sounds of the coffee shop, the hiss of the espresso machine, the murmur of conversation, the clink of ceramic mugs usually helped her focus. Today they felt like noise, like chaos that she couldn't filter out. If she could just deliver 5 pages, just to show Sapphire, her agent, that she was working on it. Something to show Sapphire, to buy herself more time, but every time she tried to write, she heard his voice instead. The voice of her attacker. I'm going to take my sweet time with you. Her hands trembled as she reached for her latte. The foam long since dissolved into bitter coldness. The bandage on her neck had been removed days ago, leaving only a thin pink line that makeup couldn't quite cover. But she hated it, because it made her think of him. Everyone kept telling her, you're lucky, Maggie. You are so lucky. You know, you move on from this. You should be grateful. There are a lot of women who would never escape that situation. The news had even picked up on it. A woman is lucky tonight because her attacker had her drive out to an empty field on the edges of Charlotte. When she arrived, the field was filled with deer hunters in trucks. Apparently, this attacker thought the field would be empty. It was not. More on this story tomorrow morning at 6 o'clock a.m. on WSPY News. She was lucky. She should move on. But how? She felt anything but grateful. At that moment, her phone rang, startling her so badly she knocked over her cup. Coffee spread across the table, seeping toward her laptop. One of the Starbucks employees grabbed a bunch of napkins and started sopping it up. Fisher's Elementary was on the screen. Hello? Miss Drake? Yes. Miss Drake, this is Nancy from Curly's school. I'm afraid your daughter is feeling quite unwell. Could you come pick her up? She's saying she's feeling woo-woo to her stomach. 15 minutes later, Maggie helped a pale, nauseous Curly into the back seat of the Honda. She didn't want her to be in the back seat because that's where he had been. It was the same car where it had all happened. She was going to have to get rid of it. She'd had it detailed twice already, but she could still smell him sometimes. That mixture of sweat and cigarettes and malice. As they turned into their subdivision, Maggie's stomach dropped. 2 cars sat in their circular driveway, Jared's black Land Rover and a red Camaro that she didn't recognize. She glanced at the dashboard clock, 1:30 p.m. Jared should be at the office, she thought. He said he had meetings all afternoon. She parked on the street, irritation flaring at having to walk the extra distance while carrying a sick child. Curly felt warm against her shoulder as they climbed the front steps of the 3-story Colonial, all white columns and black shutters, and the kind of curb appeal that had made her feel successful when they first bolted. They had arrived. She had arrived. This was a place that a New York Times bestseller twice in a row would live. The house smelled different when she opened the door. Not bad, exactly, but unfamiliar. Like someone else's perfume mixed with something else she couldn't identify. Come here, baby. Let's get you upstairs, she murmured to Curly, who promptly threw up on the hardwood floor of the foyer. Maggie cleaned it up with paper towels from the kitchen. Curly was softly crying. She took her up to the 2nd floor landing, where her bedroom and 3 other guest rooms were, changed her into a soft nightgown and tucked her into bed with a cool washcloth on her forehead. Sleep now. Mama's gonna be downstairs, okay? She left the door cracked open the way that Curly liked. As she climbed the stairs to the 3rd floor, the floor that her and Jared had turned into their bedroom, master bath, and office, it was very spa-like. She heard it, the low throb of R&B music coming from behind the bedroom door at the far end of the hall. The air was thick with the scent of amber candles, the expensive ones that she saved for special occasions. And underneath the music, softer sounds that made her blood turn to ice. Maggie took a deep breath. Her hand found the doorknob and turned it slowly. And through the crack, she could see their king-size bed, the one with the antique mahogany headboard they'd bought in an estate sale in Asheville. The sheets, her peach sheets, the 400-count Egyptian cotton sheets that she'd picked out just last month, were twisted around 2 bodies moving together in a rhythm that had nothing to do with the music. Jared's back was to her, muscles tensing as he moved over a woman with long blonde hair spread across Maggie's pillows, her satin pillows that she had just for her hair. The woman's painted nails raked down his spine, and she moaned his name in a voice that sounded nothing like Maggie's. Maggie froze and watched for just a couple of seconds. And then she reached. Her hands landed on a snow globe that sat on a nightstand where it always did, by Jared's bed. A souvenir from their honeymoon in Paris 10 years ago. The Eiffel Tower inside seemed to mock her as she picked it up, feeling its heavy, familiar weight in her palm where she dusted it every few months. She picked it up and threw it as hard as she could. Glass exploded against the headboard. Water and artificial snow rained down on the bed, on Jared's shocked face, on his lover's startled scream. The woman scrambled from the sheet while Jared leapt up, naked, water dripping from his hair, his face twisted with rage. Jesus Christ, Maggie, what the hell is wrong with you? Get out! Her voice sounded strange, distant, like it was coming from somewhere else. Both of you, get out of my house! Your house? Jared's laugh was sharp and cruel. Last I checked, my name was on the deed too. You can't just... I said get out. Maggie was reaching for the drawer where they kept their home weapon. The woman was already gathering her clothes, mumbling apologies as she dressed with shaking hands. Jared followed suit, pulling on his pants with jerky, angry movements. We'll talk about this later, he said as he headed for the door. When you're thinking clearly. Don't bother coming back, Jared. Don't you dare walk back in my house. The front door slammed 15 minutes later. The red Camaro's engine roared into life, followed by the quiet purr of Jared's Land Rover. Maggie stood at her bedroom window, watching the taillights disappear. Down the street, leaving her alone in the house that suddenly felt more like a mausoleum than a home. Downstairs, Curly called weakly for water. Maggie wiped the tears from her cheeks, straightened her shoulders, and went to take care of their daughter. Because that's what mothers did. They held things together even when everything was falling apart. Even when the voice in their head wouldn't stop whispering threats in the darkness. Chapter 3. The house felt cavernous without Jared's presence. 3 days had passed since the snow globe shattered against their headboard, and Maggie found herself jumping at every creak of the settling wood, every whisper of wind against the windows. She changed the locks the morning after, a locksmith with kind eyes and calloused hands who didn't ask questions about the thin pink scar on her neck and why she kept checking over her shoulder. Curly had recovered from her stomach bug but seemed to tense the tension crackling through her home like static electricity. She'd grown quieter, more clingy, asking repeatedly when Daddy was coming home. Maggie deflected with promises of ice cream and movie nights, but she could see the confusion building in her daughter's intelligent green eyes, so much like her own. Honey, are you and Daddy getting divorced? Curly asked over breakfast on Thursday morning, her spoon stirring Lucky Charms in endless circles. Maggie's cup froze halfway to her lips. The kitchen suddenly felt too bright, the morning sun streaming through the bay windows like an interrogation light. She took a sip of her coffee. What makes you ask that, sweetheart? Emma's parents got divorced last year. Her daddy moved out and didn't come back. Curly's voice was matter-of-fact, but her lower lip trembled slightly. Is that what's happening to you and Daddy? The truth sat heavy in Maggie's throat. Yes, probably, most likely it was going to happen, but how do you explain betrayal to a 7-year-old girl? How do you tell your daughter that sometimes the people we love most are capable of breaking us completely? I don't know yet. My brave, smart, beautiful Curly, she said finally, reaching across the table to smooth Curly's red curls. But no matter what happens between me and your daddy, we will both love you very much, and nothing is going to change about that. That will never change. Do you understand me? Yeah. After dropping Curly at school, Maggie drove aimlessly through Charlotte streets, past the Starbucks where she couldn't write anymore, past the library where it all began, past the Sonic that she could no longer bear to look at. Her phone buzzed incessantly, Sapphire's name flashing on the screen like an accusation. The deadline loomed, November slipping toward December with nothing to show for it except sleepless nights and empty pages. She finally answered on the 7th call. Maggie, thank God. Sapphire's voice carried that particular brand of agitation that agents perfected. Part concern, part barely contained panic. Listen, babe, I've got the publisher breathing down my neck. They want those first 5 chapters by Monday. That's 4 days, honey. 4 days. I know, Sapphire, I'm working on it. Are you? Because the last time we talked, you said you needed 2 weeks to get your head straight after the, hold on a minute, trying to drive it in traffic. Sapphire's voice softened slightly. After what happened, but that was 3 weeks ago, Mags, and I haven't seen a single page. Maggie pearled into the parking lot of a grocery store and stared at the families coming and going, their normalcy like a knife twisting her chest. Something else happened, Sapphire. Jared and I. Oh no, what now? The words tumbled out before she could stop them. The affair, the red Camaro, the snow globe explosion. Sapphire listened with the practiced sympathy of someone who'd heard every possible variation of author crisis over the 20-year career. He had heard it all. Listen, Mags, I'm sorry, honey, but you know what? Maybe this is exactly what you need for the book. Channel all that pain, that betrayal. Did you honestly just say that to me? Maggie thought to herself. I can't. The words came out sharper than intended. I can't write about pain right now, Sapphire. I'm drowning in it. A long pause, then. What if we were to pitch something different? A change of direction. Your publisher loves you. They need content. Romance is selling like crazy right now. Romance. She laughed, but there was no humor in it. Did you not just hear me say that I caught my husband cheating on me, Sapphire? I can't even trust my own husband. How am I supposed to write about love? Then write about revenge. Write about a woman who takes back her power. Write what you know. All I know, honey, we need 5 chapters by Monday. After hanging up, Maggie sat in the car watching strangers live their uncomplicated lives. John Sapphire, her agent, he meant well. He was just money hungry. And there was no doubt that the publisher and editor was breathing down his throat. A young couple argued over a shopping list in the parking lot. A mother chased a toddler who'd escaped from his stroller. An elderly man helped his wife navigate her walker over the curb. Normal problems, manageable problems. That's how her life used to be. She drove home to find Jared's Land Rover in the driveway. Her hand shook as she turned off the engine. Through the living room window, she could see him moving around inside, probably packing more of his things. He'd taken some clothes the day after the confrontation, but most of his belongings remained scattered throughout their home, like evidence of a life that they would never get back. The front door was unlocked. Of course it was. Old habits die hard, and Jared had always been careless about security in the house. The irony wasn't lost on her. "Hey, Maggie." His voice carried from the living room. She walked to the kitchen. "Can we talk?" She found him halfway between the kitchen and the hallway. He came in, pulled out a chair at the bar. "I want to explain," he said without looking at her. "There's nothing to explain." She leaned against the kitchen counter, arms crossed. "I saw everything that I needed to see. It wasn't supposed to happen like that. Diana she's just a client, and then one thing led to another." "Stop. Don't make this worse by pretending that it was an accident. You brought her to our house, Jared, to our bed. You lit my candles and played music, and..." Her voice cracked despite her efforts to stay strong. He finally looked at her then, and she saw something that might have been genuine remorse. "I'm sorry. God, Maggie, I'm so sorry, but you've been so distant since the attack. So cold. I felt like I was living with a ghost." A ghost. The word hit her like a physical blow. "I was traumatized. I still am. I almost died, and instead of supporting me, you..." She couldn't finish the sentence. Couldn't voice the depth of his betrayal. I know, I handled it wrong, but maybe we can work through this. Counseling, or get out." "Maggie, I said get out!" The scream tore from her throat, raw and primal. "And don't come back. Don't call unless it's about Curly. Don't." She was sobbing now, great gasping sobs that made her chest ache. "Just go. Please, just go." He stood slowly like a man walking to his execution. "For what it's worth, Maggie, I do love you. I always have. If this is what true love looks like, Jared, I don't want it." After his car disappeared down the street, Maggie collapsed onto the bed that smelled like bleach and betrayal upstairs. The silence in the house was complete. No whispered threats this time. No phantom voices, just the hollow echo of a life imploding. Another week passed. Her phone rang. Curly's school. "Miss Drake, I'm calling because Curly seems to be having a difficult day. She's crying and asking for her daddy. Could you come in for a conference call tomorrow morning? I just want to sit down and talk with you. She's a good student, but she just hasn't been herself lately." Yet another crack in the foundation. Another problem to solve. Maggie closed her eyes and felt the weight of it all. Every bit of it. The attack. Maggie closed her eyes. The book deadline. The divorce. The trauma that followed her like a shadow. And now her daughter's pain on top of everything else. Outside, November rain began to fall against the windows, each drop sounding like small explosions in the empty house. Somewhere in the distance, a car backfired, and Maggie flinched violently, her hand instinctively going to her throat. I'm gonna take my sweet time with you. The voice was back, as clear as if it were standing right behind her. She spun around, but of course the room was empty, just her and the ghost of the life she lost. She had 4 days to write 5 chapters. One daughter falling apart at school, a marriage dissolving like sugar in rain, and a deadline that felt more like a death sentence with each passing hour. The rain fell harder, drumming against the roof like impatient fingers, and Maggie Drake sat alone in her big, empty house, wondering how everything had gone so wrong, so fast. Chapter 4. December sunshine filtered through the bare oak trees around Lake Norman, casting long shadows across the walking path. The air was crisp and clean, carrying the scent of pine needles and the faint smokiness of someone's fireplace. It should have been perfect running weather, the kind of bright winter day that usually made Maggie feel alive and capable of anything. Instead, she sat in her Honda in the parking lot, staring at her running shoes like they belonged to someone else. She hadn't run since the attack. 6 weeks of avoiding the one thing that had always been her sanctuary, her way of processing stress and clearing her mind. Her body felt foreign to her now, soft where it had once been strong, restless where it had once found peace in motion. The trunk held her usual gear. She put on her running shoes, a lightweight jacket, a water bottle that had been sitting there so long it probably needed washing. She'd driven here on impulse after dropping Curly at school. The appointment was for 12 o'clock noon. The teacher had called and changed it, so she figured she'd get a good run in. She was desperate to escape the house that felt more like a prison with each passing day. Four days till her deadline. 4 days to produce 5 chapters that didn't exist. The feel of slipping into her shoes with trembling fingers, the familiar ritual feeling like putting on someone else's costume. The parking lot was nearly empty, just a few dog watchers, and an elderly couple stretching beside their car. Normal people living normal lives, unaware that monsters could reach into their cars and destroy everything in a matter of minutes. The path around the lake stretched for 3 miles, winding through wooded sections and open meadows. She'd run it hundreds of times before, knew every turn and hill and resting spot. Today it looked different though, darker somehow despite the cheerful sunshine. The trees seemed to lean in closer, their bare branches like grasping fingers. She started slowly, a jog, her legs protesting the sudden activity. Her breathing came in short, panic bursts rather than the steady rhythm she'd once maintained without thinking. The sound of her footsteps on the asphalt seemed too loud, too exposed, and then she heard it. I'm going to take my sweet time with you, pretty lady. Maggie stumbled, nearly falling as the voice filled her head with crystal clarity. She looked around wildly, but the path was empty except for a jogger disappearing around a distant curve. She kept running, trying to outpace the memory, but her voice followed like a shadow. I'm going to show you what real pain feels like, pretty lady. Her pace quickened to a sprint, her heart hammering against her ribs. The December air burned her lungs, but she couldn't slow down. Behind every tree, around every bend, she expected to see him. That faceless monster who'd stolen more than just her sense of safety. I'm going to tear those pretty clothes right off of you. And what I'm going to do to you is going to make you scream. Stop, she whispered, but the voice just kept coming relentless and cruel, painting pictures in her mind that made her stomach heave. She veered off the main path onto a smaller trail that led deeper into the woods, as if she could somehow run far enough to escape her own memories. The trail was narrow here, hemmed in by thick undergrowth that blocked most of the sunlight. Her footsteps echoed strangely among the trees, and every shadow looked like a person waiting to grab her. Branches cautered her jacket, and she could smell the earthy decay of fallen leaves mixed with something else, something that reminded her of that night. You're gonna beg me to kill you before I'm done. She stopped running so abruptly that she nearly fell forward over a rock. Her hand shook as she fumbled for her phone, needing to hear another human voice, needing proof that she wasn't alone in these woods with the echoes of his threats. But as she pulled out her phone, another wave of panic hit her. All these things came back to her. The wallet was missing from her car. Her purse was there, but the wallet was gone. She always had a tendency to throw her purse in the back seat when she got inside. What if he had her wallet? What if he knew where she lived? What if he knew about Curly and Jared? What if he knew about all of it? She had searched for it up and down and sideways and back and forth, everywhere in her house, and it was nowhere to be found. She torn the house apart looking for it. Maybe she didn't take her wallet that night, but she knew that she had. The thoughts sent ice through her veins. The police were looking, but there were dead ends. She knew his voice, but she never saw his face. Her driver's license had her home address, the house where she and Curly now lived alone, where she changed the locks but still jumped at every sound. Her credit cards, her insurance information, photos of Curly tucked behind her license. She had checked her credit cards, nothing had been spent, but still. It was everything that he would need to find them. A twig snapped somewhere behind her and Maggie spun around. Her phone clutched like a weapon. The trail was empty, but the woods seemed to pulse with hidden threats. Every tree could hide a watching figure, and that watching figure could be him, there to finish her off. Every shadow could conceal someone waiting for the perfect moment to, "Ma'am? Are you okay?" Maggie screamed. An elderly man took a step back, his hands raised peacefully. He wore a red flannel shirt and a worried expression, his golden retriever panting happily at his side. I'm sorry, ma'am. I didn't mean to startle you. You just looked upset." I'm fine. Sorry, Are you sure? You look pale. What? Do you need me to call someone for you? She shook her head, not trusting her voice. The man studied her face with a kind of paternal concern that made her want to break down completely. But she couldn't afford to break down. Not here, not now. Not when he could be here. "I have to go," she managed, and started back toward the main trail at a pace that was barely controlled panic. Behind her, she heard the man say something to his dog about poor girl and something's wrong. But his voice faded as she put distance between them. The main path felt safer, more exposed to the December sun, but the voice in her head wouldn't stop. I know where you live now, pretty lady. That wasn't what he'd said that night, but she could hear it in her brain. The rational mind knew that. But rationality had abandoned her somewhere back on that night. Now there was only the certainty that she'd made a terrible mistake. She wasn't ready. The coming here alone had somehow made her vulnerable again. She ran faster than she had in months down the trail. Her body remembered the rhythm, even as her mind fractured. The lake sparkled innocently in the sunshine, families of ducks paddling near the shore, Christmas decorations twinkling from houses visible across the water. Everything looked so normal, so peaceful. But normal was an illusion. She knew that now. Normal was something that could be shattered in an instant by a stranger's hand and a blade at your throat. By the time she reached her car, her legs were shaking from more than exertion. She fumbled with the keys, her hands so unsteady she dropped them twice before managing to unlock the door. Once inside, she immediately pressed the lock button and sat there gasping, surrounded by the familiar scent of her vanilla air freshener. Chapter 5. Pine Ridge Elementary looked like a Norman Rockwell painting in the December afternoon light. Its red brick facade decorated with paper snowflakes and construction paper Christmas trees taped to every window. Children's laughter echoed from the playground, their voices bright with the kind of carefree joy that Maggie could barely remember feeling. She sat in her Honda in the school parking lot, gripping the steering wheel and trying to prepare herself for what was coming. The conference with Curlin's teacher and the school counselor. Another conversation about how her daughter was struggling to adjust and showing signs of distress. More evidence of how completely she was failing as a mother. Through the windshield, she spotted Jared's black Land Rover, pulling into a space 3 rows over. Her stomach clenched. She'd really hoped he wouldn't show up, that his new life with Diana would be more important than 20 minutes discussing their daughter's emotional well-being. He climbed out of his vehicle wearing his charcoal business suit, the one that used to make her pulse quicken when he wore it to important meetings. Now it just made him look like a stranger to her, polished and cold and utterly unfamiliar. He hadn't seen her yet, was checking his phone with that absorbed expression he got when work demanded his attention. Maggie forced herself out of the car, her tennis shoes squeaking against the asphalt as she walked toward the school entrance. The winter air bedded her cheeks, carrying the scent of wood smoke and the faint sweetness of somebody's Christmas cookies baking nearby. Maggie! She turned to find Jared approaching, his breath forming small clouds in the cold air. Up close, she could see that he looked tired too. Shadows under his eyes, lines around his mouth that seemed deeper than before. Good. She hoped his guilt was eating him alive. Jared. Her voice was curt. She kept it neutral, professional. They were just 2 parents here to discuss their child, nothing more. How are you holding up? His tone carried a note of something that might have been genuine concern, but she learned not to trust the nuances of his voice. I'm fine. The lie came automatically. She wasn't fine. She was breaking apart piece by piece, but she'd be damned if she'd give him the satisfaction of knowing that. They walked toward the school entrance in tense silence, their footsteps echoing off the brick walls. Inside, the hallways smelled like disinfectant and children's artwork, lined with bulletin boards showing December holiday traditions from around the world. Maggie, before we go in, Jared said, stopping outside the main office, I think we need to talk. Something in his tone made her stomach drop. About what? I've been talking to my attorney. The words came out flat, businesslike, about the divorce, about custody arrangements. Your attorney? She stared at him, genuinely shocked. We haven't even discussed. There's nothing to discuss, Maggie. You made that clear when you threw me out of the house. His voice carried an edge that she'd never heard before, sharp and cutting. So I'm protecting my interest and Curly's. Protecting Curly from what? From me? From this? He gestured vaguely at her, and she realized with growing horror that his expression held something close to disgust. Look at yourself, Maggie. When's the last time you showered? When's the last time you wrote a single page? You're falling apart, and it's affecting our daughter. He glanced around to see if anyone heard them. The words hit like physical blows. I'm falling apart? I was nearly murdered 6 weeks ago, Jared. And instead of supporting me, you've been falling apart since long before that attack. Let's get real. His voice was cold, clinical. The writer's block, the anxiety, the way you've let yourself go. Honestly, Maggie, I lost any attraction to you before Diana ever came along. The breath was literally knocked out of her lungs. I don't have time for this right now. I just don't have time for this right now. The parking lot seemed to tilt around her. Cars and trees and the cheerful school decorations blurred together as this word sank in. You lost attraction for me? Come on. Did you really think I didn't notice? The way you'd flinch when I touched you even before the attack, the way you'd avoid looking at yourself in mirrors. You stopped caring about yourself, about us, about anything except those damn books that you can't even write anymore. Each word was a scalpel, cutting away pieces of her self-worth with surgical precision. I had writer's block. That's normal. It happens to everyone. For 8 months, normal people don't fall apart over a missed deadline, Maggie. Normal people don't spend weeks staring at blank pages. Normal people don't get carjacked at knife point either. Her voice cracked despite her efforts to stay strong. Normal people get support from their spouses when they're traumatized. Not what? Not honesty? He stepped closer and she could smell his cologne. The same scent she'd once found comforting was now making her want to throw up. I'm being honest for the first time in years with you, Maggie. You want to know the truth? The attack was almost a relief. It gave you an excuse to give up completely instead of halfway. The world went very quiet. Even the children's laughter from the playground seemed muted, distant. How dare you? My attorney says I can get half of everything. The house, your book royalties, even future earnings from contracts you haven't signed yet. His smile was sharp, predatory. I could get alimony from you. because you make more money than me. Turns out being a best-selling author works both ways in divorce court. You bastard. The words came out as a whisper, but it carried the weight of every broken promise. Every betrayal, every moment of tenderness that had turned out to be a lie. I want joint custody of Curly, 50-50, and I want you to get help. Real help, not just therapy sessions. You'll skip when you're feeling better. You've done it before. Because the truth is, Maggie, you're not fit to be her primary guardian right now. The school entrance doors opened and Miss Henderson, Curly's teacher, appeared with a concerned smile. Mr. and Mrs. Drake, we're ready for you. Maggie forced her smile with some approximation of composure, but inside she was screaming. Her marriage had been over long before she'd ever discovered Diana in their bed. Her husband had just told her in the most casual way possible that he found her repulsive. And now she had to walk into that conference room and discuss her daughter's emotional problems while her own world crumbled around her. Of course, she managed, her voice sounding like it was coming from underwater. We're ready. But as they followed Miss Henderson down the hallway lined with cheerful holiday decorations, Maggie knew she would never be ready for this. Never be ready to hear about how her trauma was damaging her daughter. Never be ready to fight for custody of one person who still loved her unconditionally. And certainly never ready to face the truth that maybe, just maybe, Jared was right about everything. Let's take an intermission. And when I come back, we will continue the story of Cherry Hill. I'll be right back. Miss Mia, are you present? Come to the throne, my dear. Hello, Mia. How are you doing, darling? I believe I have something that is yours. The Haunting of Hastings House. And I've got my pen. Step up, Mia. Step up, step up, step up. Mia purchased the first autographed signing of The Haunting of Hastings House. This is my first book that I wrote, and I truly hope that you enjoy it. I am now going to autograph it live. Is there any particular thing that you want it to say? And would you like it autographed in the front or in the back? Let's have her in the box. That is a great idea. Mia, can you join in the box? This is very special. This is something that that I have dreamed of for so long. This is it. Okay, I see you. Hello, Mia.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
You are most welcome, welcome, welcome. All right. I want to thank you personally for purchasing The Haunting of Hastings House. I hope that it is something that you are truly going to enjoy. Is there any particular thing that you would like me to add as I autograph your book?
I just anything you want that, I just feel so honored to know you and to have your book. I mean, how many people get to know an author and really know them and care about them? So it's going to mean a great deal to me. You don't know how much. So just anything about, even me being here with you this whole time or being a mod or just being, knowing me, anything.
Absolutely.
Little thing is all I need. I'm so excited, Brent. I even would have come and cleaned your house to get a book.
Well, I tell you, this is a dream come true for me as well. Thank you for embracing my writing. Thank you for buying the book. Thank you so, so much. And I hope that you get many scares out of it.
I will. I love you so much. Thank you for everything.
I love you,
excited.
Mia. I'm going to go ahead and autograph it now.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. I put a personal message on the inside with just a personal message that is just for you.
Oh, thank you. I love your writing. Thank you, Brent, so much. It means the world to me. I
You are
appreciate
most
it.
welcome. You're most welcome. Be expecting this in just the next few days. Okay?
I can't wait.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, Mia.
All right, and how do I get out of here?
I believe there is somewhere where you can exit. I believe. Hey guys, can night dwellers? Can you help me exit from the box?
I think I can. I think I found it.
You found it?
Uh,
It has been wonderful hearing from you, Mia. I will autograph each copy that is purchased purchased on the live, so that way you will see your book be autographed by me. Oh no! Thank you all tonight for the gifting. I hope that you are immersing yourself in the story of Cherry Hill. All right, here we go. Come back in, make yourself at home. Chapter 6. Two more months had passed. A new year, new opportunities for most, but not for Maggie. If anything, it was only becoming harder on Maggie. Jared had 50-50 custody of Curly, their daughter. And there she was in the house, that big empty house, alone in the darkness. Jared was going to take 50% of everything that she had. She would have to move. She would have to leave that beautiful house behind. The police still had no leads. Not one lead as to who her attacker had been. It was all falling in on her, crushing her to where she felt as if she couldn't breathe. She woke up at 1:00 a.m., restless. The house was so empty. Curly. She wanted Curly at that moment. Wanted to hold her daughter in her arms. But she wasn't there. She walked in the bathroom, opened the cabinet door. She had received a very scorching letter from the publishing house saying that if she did not have the first 5 chapters in 2 days, they were going to fire her. Great. That's all she needed to lose her job. She looked back at how she was just a year ago. She was a former shell of what she had been. Attorneys were sending letters every day. She had yet to pick an attorney. But Jared has his, and he was a shark. She opened up the bathroom cabinet and looked at her medications. And then she saw one that her doctor had given her for not being able to sleep when the attack happened. On the label, it said, take 1 nightly before bed. Yeah. 1 nightly before bed. She held the bottle tightly, filled up a glass of water, and went back and sat on the edge of her bed. She just wanted calm and peace. This was the perfect time to do it. No one would find her for 2 days. She undid the cap. She poured all the pills out into her hand and looked at them. Small, blue. Yes. How long would it take, she wondered. How long would it take before she slept? Forever. She opened her mouth and was about to swallow the pills when her cell phone rang. The call came at 2:17 a.m. The ringtone pierced through the February darkness like a scream, and she fumbled for her phone with hands. She looked down. It said Inez. She let it continue to ring. She held the pills to her mouth. Then the home phone rang. And then it went to voicemail, answering machine, loud, through the house. Maggie? Maggie, whatever you're getting ready to do, don't do it. I can feel it. I can feel it strongly. Whatever you're getting ready to do, it's not worth it. Maggie! Maggie turned and looked. Her cell phone started ringing again. She lowered her hand. She picked up the phone. What? Maggie, oh thank God. Maggie, I just had a dream that you were going to do something really, really bad. It was her friend, Inez, her college roommate from the College of Charleston. They had been roomies together for all 4 years. They had a connection, a bond that was unexplainable. It was almost as if they could read each other's thoughts. They knew when one was down and that they needed to be picked up. Maggie, I know that you've been through a lot. I know it, but whatever you're getting ready to do, you don't understand, Inez. You don't understand. I'm here alone. He's taking Curly from me. My publisher is demanding that I write. I can't write. I can't write after everything I've been through. I just can't. It's just better for me to just go. No, it's not. Mags, that's not the answer. Listen to me. Listen to me. I'm listening. You've been through a lot. No doubt about it, babe. But listen, nothing is worth taking your life over. You've got Curly. She'd be better off without me. No, she would not. Don't say that type of stuff. You know what I would give to have the kind of life that you have? Inez was a powerful Charleston attorney. She was a force to be reckoned with. She was single. She was proud. She was opinionated. And she loved Maggie fiercely, like a sister. She was Gula. She knew things. She had been born in Charleston. She had a sense about her. Some called it the sight. She could pick up on things. So listen, nothing as bad as all that. You don't have to do what you were going to do, okay? Inez was a corporate attorney. She was used in some of the biggest mergers. She was wealthy. She always went around saying, I don't need no man. A man needs me. Maggie put the pills back in the bottle and capped it. What do I do? I don't know what to do. I am completely at a loss, Inez. You take it one day at a time. One day at a time. Listen, so I've been thinking, I'm not as good a writer as you are, obviously, but maybe I could help. Maybe I could help you to write those chapters and, maybe give it to them and then, meet that deadline. You can't do that. Ghostwriters do it all the time. Maggie, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to lessen your load. And I got your message. I found a good divorce attorney. She's willing to take your case. Okay. Listen, what do you think? What about you writing my chapters? I would do anything for you, sister. Anything at all to help you. I swear to God, I feel like you just need to pack up and leave and just get out of Dodge for a little bit. Just have a change of scene. Are you okay? Can I hang up with you? And are you going to be okay? For now. Yes? Timmy helping you, right? I made A's. I know your books. I've read all of them, front to back. Um, yeah, I guess so. Thank you. It's my pleasure. Maggie, you're gonna make it through this. I promise. You're gonna make it. And I'm gonna try to clear some time off my schedule next week, and I'm gonna come up to Charlotte, and I'm gonna be with you. I'm sorry that I wasn't there when everything went down. I've just been so busy working on these mergers. But those are all taken care of. And I'm gonna come up and I'm gonna hang out. I'll get me a hotel up there. Inez? Yeah, I'm here. How did you know? I saw your tombstone. Inez had seen things before. Things that chilled Maggie to the bone. You're not gonna try anything, right? No, I'm not. Okay. All right, I'll be in touch tomorrow. I'll let you know when I'm coming up. Okay. But then something happened, of course. Inez was pulled away to something else, as she always was. And another month passed. She did write the chapters. And amazingly, to Maggie, it sounded a lot like her voice. Not completely like hers, but enough that it would pass muster. It was March. The call came at 2:17 a.m. jolting Maggie from her restless half-sleep that become her nightly ritual. She hadn't tried to do anything anymore. She had a daughter to live for. The ringtone pierced through the March night like a scream, and she fumbled for her phone with hands that already knew this couldn't be good news. No news in the middle of the morning was good. Maggie? Her sister Emma's voice was tight with controlled panic, the kind of carefully modulated tone she used in her legal practice when delivering devastating news. Maggie, you need to get to Aiken Regional. It's Mom. The words hit like ice water. What happened? Massive heart attack. They've stabilized her, but it's serious, Mags. It's really serious. The cardiologist says the next 24 hours are critical. You need to come now. Maggie, I found her on the floor. She was trying to call you. The 3-hour drive to South Carolina passed in a haze of anxiety and black coffee from drive-through windows. Curly slept fitfully in the back seat, her red curls tangled against the car window, occasionally stirring to ask if Grandma Lou was going to be okay. Each time Maggie lied and said yes, though her own certainty crumbled with every mile marker she passed. Louise Fletcher had been Maggie's anchor through every storm. The woman who taught her to love books, who stayed up all night when she had pneumonia at 8, who'd been her first reader and biggest champion, who went with her to New York City to sign her first contract. The thought of losing her now when Maggie's entire world was already in free fall, just felt like cosmic cruelty. Aiken Regional Medical Center at dawn was a monument to human suffering disguised as healing. The cardiac intensive care unit smelled like industrial disinfectant fighting a losing battle against the metallic scent of blood and the sweet, cloying odor of impending death. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting everything in a greenish pallor that made everyone look like the walking wounded. Maggie found Emma in the family consultation room, still wearing yesterday's clothes, a wrinkled navy suit that suggested she'd rushed here from her law office in Charleston. She helped children in social services. Her usual immaculate blonde hair hung limp around her shoulders, and her eyes were rimmed with the kind of exhaustion that came from watching machines keep someone you love tethered to life. How bad? Maggie asked without preamble. Emma's smile was brittle, professional. Severe myocardial infarction. They've got her on a ventilator now. Heavy sedation. Dr. Patel says she makes it through the next day. She shrugged with forced casualness. We'll know more then. There was something in Emma's tone, a coolness that hadn't been there during the phone call. Maggie studied her sister's face, noting the way Emma's jaw tightened slightly, the way she wouldn't quite meet her eyes. What aren't you telling me? Nothing. I'm just tired. But Emma's voice carried that particular edge she got when she was building a case, layering groundwork for an argument. Though I do have to say, the timing is interesting. What's that supposed to mean? Emma stood abruptly, smoothed her wrinkled skirt. We'll talk about it later. Come on, let's go see her. Room 314 in the cardiac ICU was a technological nightmare of tubes and wires and machines that beeped with ominous regularity. Louise Fletcher looked like a broken bird in the center of all of it, her silver hair spread across the white pillowcase, her face obscured by the ventilator mask. The rise and fall of her chest was controlled by a machine that whizzed with each artificial breath. Curly pressed close to Maggie's side, her small hand finding her mother's with instinctive need for comfort. Why can't we hear Grandma Lou talking? The machine is helping her breathe right now, baby, so she can rest and get better. But Maggie could see the truth in the monitors, the erratic heart rhythm, the blood pressure readings that fluctuated wildly, the oxygen saturation numbers that made her stomach clench with fear. This wasn't just rest. This was a body fighting for survival. The nurses said she was conscious earlier before they put her on the ventilator, before they had to intubate her. She kept asking for you, Maggie. Kept saying she had to tell you something important. It's always you. Always you. Even when she was having a heart attack, she called you. There it was again, that undercurrent of something bitter in Emma's voice. Emma, this is not the place or the time to discuss this. And why are you so mad at me? What's wrong? Where should I start? Maybe with the fact that Mom has been keeping secrets that are literally killing her. Or maybe with the fact that you've been so wrapped up in your own drama that you didn't even notice she was falling apart. That's not fair, Ems. Isn't it? Emma's professional mask slipped completely now, revealing years of resentment that had apparently been simmering beneath the surface. When's the last time you called her, Maggie? Really called. Not those 5-minute check-ins when you're rushing between book signings or dealing with your latest crisis. Emma was 5 years younger than Maggie. The accusation hit a physical glow. You know what I've been dealing with. Yeah, I know. The attack, the divorce, the writer's block, all very traumatic, I'm sure. I hear it from Mom every day. Emma's voice dripped with the kind of sarcasm that could strip paint. But while you've been falling apart up there in your big, beautiful house in Charlotte, Mom has been carrying some kind of burden that literally gave her a heart attack. And you know how I found out? Because she called me at midnight 3 weeks ago, sobbing about a letter that she'd received. A letter about you. About me. Emma reached into her purse and pulled out a manila envelope, weathered and worn, as if it had been handled many times. She wouldn't tell me what was in it, just that it contained something she should have told you years ago. She's been agonizing over it ever since. Hardly eats, losing sleep, losing weight. I kept telling her to just talk to you, but she said you had enough to deal with right now. The manila envelope felt heavy in Maggie's hands, heavier than paper had any right to feel. Her name was written across the front in unfamiliar handwriting, but below it, something that made her blood turn cold. She opened it and took out the letter. At the top it read, "In the matter of the estate of Aisling McLeod, deceased." Who is Aisling McLeod? She asked, though something deep in her chest already knew the answer would change everything. According to Mom, she's the reason you exist. What? Before Maggie could respond, the monitors began beeping more rapidly. Louise's eyes fluttered open behind the ventilator mask, and despite the medical equipment, her gaze found Maggie's across the room with laser focus. Her hand moved weakly against the white hospital blanket, fingers grasping at nothing. "She's trying to tell you something," Emma said, and for the first time since Maggie had arrived, her sister's voice held genuine concern rather than accusation. Dr. Patel appeared in the doorway as it summoned, a small man with kind eyes and the efficient movements of someone who spent his days fighting death. "How are we doing in here?" "She's trying to communicate with me," Maggie said. "Is there any way you could remove the ventilator for just a few minutes?" Dr. Patel checked the monitor's expression, thoughtful. "Her numbers have stabilized somewhat. If we're careful, we can make it very brief." He moved to Louise's bedside with practiced efficiency. "Miss Fletcher, if you can hear me, I'm going to remove the ventilator for a short time. Try to stay calm and breathe slowly." The process took several minutes of careful adjustment, moving tubes and adjusting settings. When Louise finally drew her first unassisted breath, it came out as a rattling gasp that made Curly whimper and press closer to Maggie's side. "Maggie," Louise whispered, her voice barely audible. "Come closer." Maggie approached the bed, taking her mother's hand. Wait. Was she her mother? "I'm here, Mom. The letter." Louise's eyes were bright with unshed tears and something that looked like relief. "I should have." "Don't struggle to talk. You can tell me all this later." No, I should have told you this years ago, but I was so afraid." "Afraid of what?" "That you'd hate me for lying. That you'd want to leave us and find out where you really came from." Louise's grip tightened with surprising strength. "But keeping the secret, it was killing me, Maggie. Literally killing me." Emma leaned forward, her legal training kicking in. "Mom, just rest. We can talk about this when you're stronger." "No!" And don't say that to me again, Emma. Louise's voice carried a finality that silenced the room. If I don't make it, you're going to make it, Mom. You're going to make it. If I don't, Louise continued as if she hadn't spoken, you need to know you're not my birth daughter, Maggie. You came to me on the day you were born. The words hit like a physical blow, but somehow Maggie had been expecting them. The envelope in her hand suddenly made terrible sense. Your father, your adopted father, he was called to a birth up in the North Carolina mountains. It was a rainy night. It was a place called Cherry Hill, right at the Tennessee border. Mommy, you're struggling to talk. You don't have to do this right now. It was a 16-year-old girl, all alone except for an old midwife who delivered half the babies in the county. Louise paused, gathering strength, and Dr. Patel moved closer to monitor her vital signs. Your father said that she was beautiful. Long red hair, green eyes. Her name was Ailing. He said it was a terrible labor. She screamed and cursed. There was so much blood. She wouldn't even look at you when you were born. Wouldn't hold you. Wouldn't name you. Just said, take it away, like you were something shameful. Mom, the midwife cleaned you up, made sure you were healthy, and then left. It was just your father, the girl, and you in that little mountain shack. When she woke up fully, she begged him to take you away from Cherry Hill. Said no one could ever know you'd been born there, that you had to disappear completely, that she had hid the pregnancy. Emma's face had gone pale. Dad never told me any of this. Oh, your daddy loved you. He fell in love with you the moment he saw you. Louise continued, her voice getting weaker. We've been trying to have children for years and given hope. And then he came home that night with this perfect little red-headed baby wrapped up in a burlap sack. She smiled through her tears. He said it was meant to be, that we were never to say anything. The monitors were beeping faster now, and Dr. Patel stepped forward. Miss Fletcher, we need to put the girl's name was Ailing. I don't know everything that is going on, but the letter doesn't explain everything, but she kept track of you somehow. All these years, she knew you became a writer, knew about your books. Louise's breathing was becoming more labored, her words coming in short gasps. She passed away, Maggie, 2 months ago. Aileen McLeod. There's a will reading scheduled in Cherry Hill next week. They've been looking for you for months, ever since she passed. Dr. Patel was already reaching for the ventilator equipment. That's enough for now. We need to let her rest. as the breathing tube was reinserted and Louise's voice was once again stolen by the machines, Maggie stared down at the envelope that contained her new reality. Cherry Hill, North Carolina. A dead mother that she'd never known. An inheritance from a woman who had given her away on the day of her birth, but remembered her in death. Well, Emma said quietly, I guess now we know why she had a heart attack. Once outside the hospital window, the March rain started to fall, drumming against the glass like impatient fingers. The sound mixed with the mechanical symphony of the medical equipment, creating a rhythm that sounded almost like a heartbeat. And somewhere in the mountains of Cherry Hill, North Carolina, in a place ancient and old, the truth was waiting. And that will conclude the reading of Cherry Hill for tonight, Grimm's. Next Sunday night, subscribers only chat, Cherry Hill continues, and it's about to get very dark. Very dark indeed. So glad you like it. So glad. Hope you're getting pulled in. Oh, just wait. Just wait. You may think you know everything. You don't know my mind. You don't know how it works. It would scare you. Awesome, Nana Sherry. So let's talk about it for just a few minutes here. What are you thinking? What do you think Cherry Hill holds? What do you think about everything that Maggie has suffered in such a short amount of time? An attack, her husband cheating, her daughter falling apart, her book not being able to write, finding out that she is adopted. It just goes on. It just goes on. Very excited about this one. This one is a complete switch from Crimson Queen. Yes, Rebecca. Yes. It was very hard to write. Very, very hard. Oh, you think she's from a witch's coven, do you? Exactly. Right, Emma Bama. Everyone is going to want that to happen. She does. She has a whole lot pulling on her. Right. Why did her birth mother hide her pregnancy? And why did she tell her that she could not come back to Cherry Hill? But then 35 years later, she receives a certified letter in the mail saying that her mother was Aileen McLeod and that she is having the reading of her will. Oh, did you really, Sherry? I'm so glad. So, so glad. Maggie has a hidden talent. Oh, you think so, Spitfire? Oh, wow. So this kind of rings home for you then. I really wanted to. The Haunting of Hastings House takes place in South Carolina. I really wanted to write about, an area that I know. Um, Love it, love it, love it, love it. Hey, little Tito, you love my voice? Right. Oh, just wait. Cherry Hill is going to be an experience. I do live in South Carolina, yes. And I've lived in North Carolina too. What are you thinking about it, Rebecca? Don't you think that anyone who has a right to haunt would be my protagonist in my antagonist in the Haunting of Hastings House? Oh wow, Lulu. Hey, you never know. Obviously, something's going on. Number one, this is in Appalachia, okay? So we know what kind of things dwell there. Many, many things. And Cherry Hill is ancient, which you will learn more about Cherry Hill next week. I was writing a lot these past 3 days, so much so that all I see are words. I do have The Haunting of Hastings House on audio. Yes, I do. It's on Audible. The only thing that I wish is when I signed with the publisher that I had did my own voice. Because they said with me being a new author, this was back in 2023, that they wanted to use a voice that they thought would, sound good for the book. So yeah, it is on Audible. But from now on, every book that I write, I will do the voice. Oh yeah, I bet I know the part you're talking about. Oh, thank you, Lulu. So here we go. Are you excited? A whole new cast of characters, a new place. I'm very excited about this one. And you know what? This is a I am in the creative process of it. I'm still writing drafts. So right now, hey, shoot out whatever idea that you have, and if I think it will fit in Cherry Hill, who knows? You might actually see it come to life. You're moving to Korea. How exciting. Oh, I'm so glad. I really try to put the reader there. One thing that I've always wanted is, when I'm reading a book, I want to be transported to that place, and I want all these places to become real for you. Blackstone, Castle, Cherry Hill, the Haunting of Hastings House, Hastings Plantation. I want it all to become very, very real. Military spouse. I was wondering about that, Rebecca. Well, I hope that you will be able to continue watching. I truly, truly, truly do. Subscriber night is fun, isn't it? It's a 13-hour difference. That's true. That is true. Thank you. I have been called the adjective queen. I was called that by my professor. I was called that by my English teacher and my mom. All my mom used to say to me was, Bryn, write the book. Just write the book. Because I used to just constantly pass story ideas to her. And she's just like, write the book. But don't forget, Rebecca, the stories will be on YouTube, and who knows, we may have, something up and running to where, you can, be able to come into a life, I'm thinking many different things and processing many different things for different parts of the world. Four more book orders. Oh my goodness. Don't forget that I will autograph them live for you. Just tell me, if you have anything in particular, if you're getting a book for someone and you want them to have a special autograph, just let me know. Hey, Taquilma, how are you? X, can you give her the instructions for ordering the book, please? You can, I have the books here, and when you order one, then I will go ahead and pick you a copy and I will autograph it on the live for you. Good to hear, Tacoma. Good to see you again. Oh, that's wow. Please join us in Discord. We want our Discord family to grow. We want our YouTube family to grow. What my goal is to eventually be monetized on YouTube, hopefully before I'm 90, and be able to have super chats and be able to just have a really great time doing it. So I'm excited. Cherry Hill, newest creation. And believe it or not, I wrote a lot of it in my mind while I was telling you the story. So if someone could give her the Discord link, that would be great. Tomorrow night, chillin' night. I have an idea. I think you'll like it. Eight o'clock p.m. Eastern. Start sharing with friends, family, co-workers. Get the word out there. Hey, do you just sometimes wish you could hear a good bedtime story before you go to bed? Well, I found this lady. Her name is Bryn, and she's a horror author, and she tells stories every night, except for Saturday. But let's just pass it along. All right, all. We have a week ahead of work, blah. I am going to retire. I love you all. You are the most wonderful community. Well, hello there, love always, Kathy. I love your name. Um, hey, Acid TV. Good night, Judy. I love you all. Tomorrow night, Chiller Monday. It's going to be chilling. Get ready, okay? Love you all.
May the sun rise in front of me, the rain fall behind me, and wind follow me. May the angel biker's prayer. May the sun rise in front of me, the rain fall behind.
I told you guys it was going to happen. They were going to start to sell out, and the Nutcracker print just
Night, night, YouTube.